Well, as always, that was something. Welcome to the Sports Nerd Podcast, brought to you by VTRN 93.3 FM, 1320 AM, Lynchburg. We are live here from Pittsburgh on my end, and we just finished the final pick where both Notre Dame boys got selected from the running back position. We knew Jadarian Price would go after Jeremiah Love eventually, just not this early, but those two were two of 19 offensive players selected in the first round. And that's not the crazy part, because you're usually used to seeing offensive players and defensive players alternate, unlike that one year where it was literally like seven offensive players, everything else was defense. Wasn't that like 2023, Joey? 2024?
Something like that. They just
Yeah.
24, yeah.
All right, well, let's go right off the bat, Joey. Let's get your thoughts from here. I can tell you my thoughts, and I can tell you the amount of gasps, the amount of jaws that were on the floor here, and the amount of stammering that went on around here up in the press box, including some of the interesting questions I heard in press conferences. But I want to get your reactions, because you and I texted for a majority of the draft. I know I disappeared because I was stuck trying to get Sonny Styles in a press conference, because what I quickly learned was just because you get drafted first doesn't mean you go first in these press conferences. Literally, the first person we were given was Arvell Reese, and it just went out of order after that, so which was fine. It was pretty cool. I thought it was a great experience overall. But Joey, let's get your reactions, because, oh man, we had some reactions.
Yeah, I mean, I think really the draft started like we thought with Fernando Mendoza. And then really after that, it was really just a matter of would the Jets go with Reese or Bailey. And they went with the production right away, which I think was understandable by most pundits. And then the question, like a lot of people were kind of set on the fact that the Cardinals would trade the pick at 3, but there was also a late gathering of what if they just stayed. And at the time, I didn't think it made much sense, to be honest. I thought their running back room was very deep. I thought they just extended James Conner. They have other guys in their backfield. So I thought when people were saying they should get Jeremiah Love, I was like, that would make just even less sense than if the Titans got him. But
Yeah.
I don't know what that's going to mean for the Cardinals going forward with that running back room. But living in Cookeville and living in Tennessee and coming to grips with the fact that the Titans may have just gotten one of the more surprising first rounds, I think, out of any team in this draft. I think the word I used was pleasantly surprised to you when I saw the Titans get Carnell Tate. Very, very happy with that. I'm excited to see what he does in Tennessee next year. He's not going to be receiver 1, but he's going to be a guy that hopefully Cam Ward utilizes quite a bit. And between what Io Manor did and what Ridley is capable of, who's to say that they don't have some much better receiving core over there? Very jealous of the Giants getting Reese at 5. I'm not sure what to make of the Chiefs trading up for Delaney. I think the consensus around a lot of people, and correct me if I'm wrong, is that I think the Chiefs could have gotten Delaney at 9, and I think they would have been perfectly fine with that, but they gave up some more capital, which I think is perfectly understandable. Sonny Styles at 7, I think, is a home run for Washington. But yeah, I need Mickey Loomis's head on the door immediately, because I would like to know what that was from the Saints.
Yeah. I could tell you literally said, "What the hell, man?" I think it was a good pick, but I think what maybe people are concerned about is they felt like it wasn't the right pick at that time. But I don't know. I mean, maybe they're trying to get. Here's my thoughts are: you're trying to give Tyler Shaw more weapons, right? You got Chris Olave, who wasn't completely healthy last year, and I know Tyson has had injury concerns, but I guess the tape and the workout just looked too good. And I mean, I was in the press conference that he was in. He's really excited to get to work. He's really excited to work with Chris Olave. And I do think if that chemistry is there, it'll be a match made in heaven. It could be CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens if Tyler Shaw is well protected and can get the ball to him. And who knows? I think Tyler Shaw showed he could be a good quarterback in the NFL. Just got to give him a full season. But I interrupted you. What were you saying?
Man, I just think they're building around the wrong pieces over there. Tyler Shuck's 26. Chris Olave's like a year or two older than him. And Chris
Well,
Olave's the
better
future
than
of your
Spencer
team.
Rattler, yeah.
Like you're gonna keep pissing off Olave, and he's gonna want out. He already tweeted his displeasure last year,
Yeah.
and now you're gonna draft his equal. Like Olave's not happy about this draft. I guarantee you that.
Okay.
So we'll see what the Saints do, man. But I'm not a fan of that pick personally. I think they could have gone. I don't know. You could have even drafted the guy that the Browns got at 9, and I would have been happy with that in Fano.
All
You could
right.
have. I don't know. You could have drafted Caleb Downs, maybe the best safety on the board, and you could have replaced Matthew. You could have gotten Reuben Bain because he was falling down. You could have picked him up for the Cam Jordan replacement. You could have picked literally anyone on defense, and the Saints would have been fine. But the fact that they chose to go offense again when you could argue the strength of that team or what strength they have is on offense is very disappointing. And I think that, if anything, it means the Saints might just tank again, which is
Yeah.
it's not good, especially in a weak division right now. But I digress. Fano at 9 to the Browns, I think, is fine, all things considered. I thought people were pretty high on Fano, so I'm not really surprised to see him go up. I think while the Giants did well with Reese at 5, I have questions about Mayaga at 10. I think the Giants fans have seen this pick and they think of Evan Neal. I think they think of a lot of failed offensive line picks over the last few years. And there's questions about him. I mean, yeah, he went on stage and basically said he would die for for not Carson Beck. For I can't think of his
Jackson
name.
Dart.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Tired over here. But yeah, like he basically got on the stage and said, "I'll die for this man," which great and all, but like you're also 335 and you have a herniated disc in your back, so you can only move but so much in early OTAs. So we'll be interested to see how he fits in that lineup. But I didn't love the pick. I think Caleb Downs was the better fit, and that leads me to a win because I think Dallas won by trading up and getting Caleb Downs. I mean, the weakness was secondary. And they fixed that. It wasn't a corner, which I thought they might go with, but they got Caleb Downs, and I think Cowboys fans should be very happy with the pick.
Yeah, and he's very happy to be a Cowboy too, man. He was just smiling ear to ear at the presser. It was pretty fun to see.
I think that's the team he wanted to be on.
And he'll be playing against his brother this season, Josh Downs, when they play the Colts this year. He talked about that too. They've already texted about it.
That's right. That's right. Well, I'll be excited. I'm sure they'll be excited to see that matchup whenever that happens. What do you think of Caden Proctor going 12 for Miami? Because it feels like it's not the sexy pick, but it's like a helpful pick.
It's a very helpful pick because, yes, Tua was a damaged quarterback, but that O-line could not protect a stick. And I think in order to make sure Malik stays in top shape and doesn't have to run for his life, you got to build that O-line. That was definitely addressed. I'll tell you where the Dolphins get my from. And that was, okay, I think Chris Johnson's a great corner. I think he's an underrated corner. I think he's first-round talent. But if I'm the Dolphins, I'm concerned here. Why a receiver wasn't taken first round. Now, if I look at what's the best available, I'm sure you can still pick up a good guy. I don't know how I feel about Denzel Boston. If I'm looking at the receiving core, I like Skylar Bell, Malachi Fields. Those two come off the mind instantly. Antonio Williams, Elijah Surratt, and I know there's others. Chris Bell when he gets healthy. Yeah. But I still feel like when the Dolphins reached in there, and I don't know if it was because – well, no, that's even the thing, though. Omar Cooper Jr. was there, and I felt like that could have been a good pick.
Is the next one off the board, yeah.
And I'm wondering if they were looking at Casey Concepcion. He gets taken, and then they decide, okay, we need to go ahead and address corner. Now, we said it before this draft started, right? Corners, there's a handful of corners that can start in this league right now once drafted. And I felt like Chris Johnson was definitely one. So I guess, yeah, you do win with that pick, but you got to give Malik some weapons to throw to because that wide receiver core just feels so incomplete when I look at it. Obviously, Jalen Waddle now a Bronco. I mean, that's the obvious reason, but I look at this wide receiver core right now. I look at Malik Washington, Jalen Tolbert. Those are your starting receivers right now. Tutu Atwell, who has a high drop rate right now. So, I mean, that's where my concern comes in. So hopefully receiver is addressed. I feel like they will within the next 2 rounds, but I don't know. Maybe I'm not seeing the bigger picture here like I should be.
Well, I'm glad they protected Malik as a Liberty consensus, and we'll see what they do. I do think they at some point will go receiver, but I mean, for them to trade up and get Chris Johnson, a guy that some people had in the second round.
Yeah,
I get Miami needs a corner. I get their secondary's been depleted a little bit, but I think you could have gotten him. You could have gotten a similar corner of his build.
You think so?
Round, and I mean, look, say what you want about Denzel Boston, but there's a track record, man. Odunze's doing well in Chicago. Jalen Polk's doing well in New England.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah, Washington is an underrated wide receiver. I definitely agree. But there's just questions about Denzel Boston. I have questions about his speed. He's big, he's tall, big, and when it comes to a catch radius, it's up in the air. I think that's my concern with Denzel Boston. I do think, though, he can prove a lot of people wrong, and I love being proved wrong. So maybe when he gets drafted tomorrow, and he will be drafted within the first 10 picks of the second round, I feel anyway. I think he'll have a lot to show the world. But
well, speaking of surprises,
leads
to the next.
I know where you're going here. 13. Okay. Let me tell you what. I was in the press room, right, waiting for. We were waiting for interviews, right? They went off and they let close reporters to the team have their one-on-ones. And we're in the room, TV blaring in the press conference room, and Ty Simpson gets announced. And the whole room just went, oh, whoa, like.
Mm-hmm.
And I did too. I was like, wow. Okay, we knew Ty Simpson could be a first-round pick. I've been high on Ty Simpson. I think if he fixes his accuracy a little more, he can be an efficient quarterback. It just makes it. I think what this pick proved was that the Rams were worried where next year would go as far as, hey, are we going to be in a spot to take an Arch Manning or a Dante Moore, so forth next year? Or are we going to be at the top where all these good quarterbacks are gone unless we can trade up? Do we get one of those guys? So maybe they love the Ty Simpson tape. They are prepared for Matthew Stafford. They told Stafford, hey, look, man, we're prepared for you to retire soon. So we're going to go ahead and draft this guy. They did what the Falcons probably should have done with Kirk Cousins before the whole thing, the whole spiel, right? Mm-hmm. So it's a good address, but it's in. I felt like I think it was just a shock out of nowhere to me, but it kept the Cardinals from trading back into the first round and opened the door for the Titans to come in and grab Falk later on, because I know the 31st pick was up for grabs. Seattle, they decided not to trade back, but the 31st pick, the 30th pick, they were up in the air constantly. And Titans took advantage of it and got Falk in the end. And Rams, honestly, I love a world with Ty Simpson and Devontae Adams if he stays, right? That the Rams have a decent receiver core. I feel like people forget how good this wide receiver core is. This is the core that we were able to take. Obviously, Puka, but you got Puka, you got Devontae. Jordan Whittington is really coming out on his own. Tyler Higbee and Colby Parkinson at tight end. This is a team that's really growing offensively. This is a team that Stafford was able to take and win MVP with. There's no telling if you put a young quarterback in there and you can keep this team together. If Ty Simpson fixes a couple things, I think this is a good team when Matthew Stafford passes the torch.
And I mean, he'll be in a great position too in terms of Sean McVay, quarterback whisperer over there, and you know,
Exactly. And you're not in a trashy situation as a quarterback. If he were to have gone to the Cardinals, I would have been worried for him. But when you're with the Rams, like you said it, Sean McVay, the quarterback whisperer, he's in a better situation right now. He's not in a complete rebuild. And the best part of it all, he's not going to be thrown out there and expected to start day one. This is a Patrick Mahomes pick, not calling him Patrick Mahomes. I'm calling it the scenario here. This is a pick where the Chiefs were preparing to depart from Alex Smith next year or two, which they did that next season. So they drafted Mahomes to go and be prepared for the future. That is what the Rams are doing. And it's a smart pick, and I hope it works out. I really do.
well, their next priority for the Rams should be to find a way to keep one or both of Puka and Devontae, because I mean, you set them up. You've already extended Kyron Williams. You've extended Tyler Higbee.
Yeah.
You've seen what Colby Parkinson, Davis Allen can do at the tight end position. If you can keep Puka at least, and maybe Devontae as well, if you get him to stick around, if and when Stafford does inevitably call it quits, you need to set up Ty Simpson in the best position to have weapons. Which, not to say the Cardinals don't. I mean, now that they got Jeremiah Love, they've also got Marvin Harrison, they've got Trey McBride, they've got a bunch of other great names. But the Rams are in a better position to win now. And I feel like with Simpson, I almost compare it to Brock Purdy a little bit in that he doesn't need to do a whole heck of a lot. And he can rely on McCaffrey. He can rely on George Kittle. He can rely on Juwan Jennings. He can rely on all those guys. And he doesn't need to throw the ball for 40 times for 400 yards. Brock Purdy's stat line normally shows he doesn't always throw the gunslinger mentality out there. But Ty Simpson can do what he needs to. And it's like NFL Network mentioned in their coverage, Ty Simpson's used to waiting around a little bit. I mean, he waited for, the previous two quarterbacks, Jalen Milroe as well, for 3 years, took advantage of his spot, and now he's got an opportunity in the NFL. Patience is a virtue, and it's something that Ty Simpson has in spades. So, and I think the Rams also, basically talked with him in private meetings and basically said, hey, if you're in the first round, be there. And so I think looking with all the context considered, I think we could have maybe expected this pick. I think the Rams were thrown out there as maybe a possibility for a quarterback. I just don't think anybody was expecting them to pick Ty Simpson at 13. And it also kind of makes you wonder. Jimmy Garoppolo is probably retiring based on what this pick tells me. And who knows what Stetson Bennett's mind is at these days. But the quarterback situation isn't as statutory as it once was with the Rams. Stafford's going to be in his age 39 year. Yes, he won an MVP, but it's very rare, right? Like Brady's the only other exception to that. Jimmy Garoppolo's 34 and considering retirement, and Stetson Bennett is dealing with his stuff, and he's 25, 26. So realistically, the Rams were having a tough situation dealt to them, and I think they feel like they did the best they could given circumstances.
I agree. I think the situation with the Rams right now, if you look at this quarterback room, right, whether, like I said, Carson Beck is probably the next quarterback going off. I think it goes this. I think it goes Carson Beck, then it's either Drew Aller or Garrett Nussmeier, and then whoever the heck knows where next, right? There's a couple of QB prospects that can go. I don't expect Cade Klubnik to be drafted tomorrow unless it's like a desperate toss, and that's nothing against him. It's just there's other better prospects. I'd even expect I'd even expect Hayes King to be randomly selected tomorrow. So I say all that to say this. Rams knew the quarterback selection core they were getting, and they trusted Ty Simpson the most. Here's what I'm worried about. And I look at the Jets, right? I'm going to take a. Can we just talk about the Jets? Because
Sure.
3 great picks, right? But we've seen this before, Joey. We've seen this. We saw this in our first draft show at 90.9 The Light, 2022. They had 3 outstanding picks, and it's gone nowhere, right? And they've done this before. The next year, I know they only had 1 pick, but the picks are good. The name brand is good. Okay, great job, Glenn. What are you going to do with that now? How are you going to put that together? Because I look at the quarterback room, and if I'm a Jets fan, I'm still biting my fingernails off. I look at the DB room, and I'm still scared for how that looks. Because safeties, you're good. Cisco, Fitzpatrick, that's a great safety duo. This DB room scares me in terms of how on earth are you going to guard Josh Allen's receivers, Drake May's receivers, who may get A.J. Brown by the end of it all, which that Eagles pick proves that trade is all but confirmed. Howie Roseman at it again, by the way, which we'll get to in a second. But that QB room does not look tasty. And I don't know if I'm Aaron Glenn, you would think you'd be in win now mode, right? What are you going to do tomorrow? Are you going to go and get Carson Beck, or are you just going to continue with Geno? I'm not saying start Carson Beck. I'm not saying start Drew Aller, but come on, man. Brady Cook, Bailey Zappi, Geno Smith. Is this what you're putting your job on the line for? What are we doing here, man? I love the Coach Glenn, but I feel like this is the last year. I feel like that last year was such a blunder that there's no excuse to fail for them next year. It's either win more than 3 games or go find another job.
Well, I mean, I think there's 2 things to this. It might just be the fact that Aaron Glenn is the defensive-minded coach, and they said just basically figure it out on defense with what you've got. Which, you drafted Arvo, or no, you drafted a tight end. Which
That was good though. They needed that. And I think. Well, you said it yourself. Kenyon Sadiq is an elite tight end. That fixes a questionable tight end room right there. I like the pick. I like the Omar Cooper pick, and I like the David Bailey pick. I'm not saying the picks are bad, but where do you go moving forward is my question. Because remember, they went in and drafted Garrett Wilson and the guy out of Florida State who got traded recently, whose name has slipped my mind, and I remember because Joey Keller called about him. They went in and
Travis.
had not Jordan Travis. I'm talking about the defensive end out of Florida State that they drafted, and then they later traded because he was at Georgia. I don't know why I remember his history, but not his name. Anyway, they went in and they got Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall in the first 3 rounds, along with 2 other good players, right? And it went nowhere. That's what I'm saying. What are we going to do here? And I get it. It was under an Adam Gase head coach. That's not what you want. But at the same time, where do you go if you're the Jets? I guess this is a good start, and I'm willing to see it out because I think it's a good start. But we've seen this before, is all I'm saying.
I also think there's a level of realistic expectations, right? We talked about it on the pre-show about how next year's draft class could be loaded, especially at quarterback. Let's not kid ourselves. Geno Smith is a stopgap quarterback for the Jets this season. And if you mean to tell me that, we watched Brady Cook last season, and he didn't exactly light the stadium on fire. He probably did, but in a bad way. And Bailey Zappi, I didn't think he was a Jets quarterback until you told me just now. So, honestly, who's to say that they're just not like setting up the pieces? David Bailey, yes, but also the two weapons on offense, as you mentioned. Who's to say they're not setting up for next year when they get their quarterback of the future? Maybe they just trust the defense with Bailey, see how he develops, and
Yeah.
trust Glenn to figure it out. Maybe get some veterans for a year as a stopgap and what have you. But I mean, there's also that expectation of, are we realistically going to be in the AFC East this year? Not really. Not with
No.
Josh Allen there. New England's going to hopefully make a run at it. But I mean, I think you're looking at it from the Jets' perspective. I mean, I'm sure Jets fans are sick of hearing the word long term a lot when it comes to their franchise. But I mean,
Yeah.
again, Geno Smith is 36. His body's starting to break down. Brees Hall's still on your team. Garrett Wilson's still on your team. Now you've got Omar Cooper. Now you've got Kenyon Sadiq. You trust your line, who, hey, they didn't miss a game because of injury last season, blah, blah, blah. And then David Bailey's there, and you've got, I mean, the Jets, I think are thinking that. I'm willing to give them the benefit of the doubt, but they got to show it on the field, like you said.
Yeah. I will say the amount of O linemen that went off the board, it just felt like a feeding frenzy too. Though there were some really good offensive linemen. I think the one O lineman that I feel like maybe was a reach was maybe Rutledge, but he's also a guard that probably can offer the Texans more than we realize, and maybe we are probably not seeing it from their side. Kalen Rutledge is a good player, but I never saw him on a first round level. But at the same time, I feel like the Texans made the right move here. I felt like out of all the teams to draft O line, I felt like Texans made the right move. I felt like the Patriots, that you had to address it after Drake May was practically blindsided every two plays
Traded up to
by,
get him, too, which I'm very
yeah,
happy about.
no, because they saw the O lineman going off the board and they said, okay, we got to make a move and get our guy, or we're looking at slim pickings for tomorrow. Slim pickings for tomorrow.
Yeah.
So they did, and they went up and they got their guy, and I loved the pick personally. I look at Blake Miller with the Lions. They did exactly what they needed to do. Panthers, when they didn't get Sadiq, they didn't panic. They said, okay, well, let's just go and protect Bryce Young for now. We will address special talent on offense. We'll address linebackers on defense another time. Let's go ahead and address linemen. And they did, and they got a great lineman out of it too. So, and I will say as well, I thought the Eagles were going to go and get linemen. And I know a couple of Eagle fans at my work that weren't the happiest about O-line not being taken, but at the same time, I think you can get Lane Johnson's replacement next year. You don't necessarily have to prepare for it this year. I projected they would, but I will say this instead. They prepared for a future that is coming for sure, and it's a future without A.J. Brown, and it's a future where you need a wide receiver that fits the scheme that the Eagles like to run, and Mekhi Lemon fits that scheme. So, caps off to Howie Roseman. He did it again and got an in-division rival to trade with him. That's the beauty of it. You talk the Cowboys into trading back and letting you go in front. I mean, I don't know a lot of teams that would willingly trade with their rival. I don't, but I guess there was enough of a relationship there where the Cowboys were like, yeah, you know what? You're not trying to get a guy that we want, so go for it, whatever,
What an interesting draft the Cowboys have, trading up to get their guy and getting
Yeah.
Caleb Downs, and then trading down with a division rival. And I mean, look, I think we could. I think we could have a JSN kind of butterfly effect to this Mekhi Lemon pick. I really
I
do.
do
I think
too.
that the Eagles have a system that I think benefits a guy like Mekhi Lemon, and he does everything that you could ask for. I mean, he does have that AJ Brown comp, and I honestly feel like, again, not set in stone. Like, we'll have to wait until June 1st, but I mean, the Eagles wouldn't have made a pick like this if they didn't think AJ Brown was going to be on their team. And ultimately, I think what's ended up happening here is the Eagles prioritized and also probably have seen linemen like Lane Johnson play a little bit longer. I know he's age 35, and who's to say they don't get a lineman in the second or third round? But
Hello.
I mean, yeah, it's Mekhi Lemon. I think they've done really well, all things considered. And Philly ultimately, I think, did well to get their guy and to get a guy who I think a lot of people may have had as receiver 3 in this draft.
All right, let's cap it off here. All right, you look at this draft. What was the most out of place pick for you? You felt like,
Ooh, okay.
because I mean,
So,
it's the Caleb Banks pick an obvious out of place. I think he fits a need. I think he's a great DT, but I don't know the Vikings. Yeah, I don't know. What's yours?
well, I think without repeating what you said, because I think honestly, Caleb Banks was for me a bit of an L pick. I didn't understand it. Diamond's right there. I mean, just because everybody's projecting that you do it doesn't mean that you can't do it, and makes everyone else look stupid. And now he's on division rival, so good job, Minnesota. Um, I think the biggest. I mean, look, I'm talking to a Cowboys fan right now, and I got questions, man, about y'all reaching for Malachi Lawrence at 23.
I knew we were going for Malachi Lawrence. He had been pushed to us for a while. I'm not saying draft experts are on the money all the time, but I think it's a guy that Dallas wanted. I think they felt like he fits the scheme that our new defensive coordinator is trying to build, which is what Dallas has been going for. They're not going for name brands or anything. They're going for guys that fit the new DC scheme, and it succeeded in Philly. So I think that's what they're rolling for. Look, I know it's not a sexy pick, but I if Hakeem if Hakeem was there, I feel like you get him, but he was taken beforehand. So you go with the next best guy. And I know a lot of I personally would have liked TJ Parker, but I don't know. I felt like he'd been tied to Dallas for a while, and there was just no stopping Dallas from getting this guy. So bam, he's gone. He's off
Yeah.
the board. I know it's a reach, but it's what Dallas does. Dallas has been reaching with picks. I'm just happy we got Caleb Downs, and I'm happy we
Yeah.
addressed the defensive needs. Excuse me. Same with Washington, who I cover. I didn't get to talk to Sonny Styles at all, but I feel like if you want to listen to what Sonny Styles has in mind when joining Washington, go see Lake Lewis Jr.'s content. He was here tonight. Great guy, great insider for the Commanders. But I think that both teams, the Dallas Cowboys and the Commanders, covered what they needed to. Jerry addressed defense. It's what needed to be addressed. It's what needs to be addressed tomorrow. And I hope if the problem is we don't have a second round pick. That's the problem. We don't have a pick until I think we got a third round pick now. We no longer, and we kept our fourth rounder for the most part. But all in all, the first two picks I'll take. I'll take it. Maybe it's not sexy. It's not Jacob Rodriguez. I really wanted Jacob Rodriguez, but I'll take it. I'll take with what we got.
I think we talked a little bit about Chris Johnson. I didn't love Miami trading up for him. I think he could
I
have
agree.
got him a little bit lower than that. And I got my questions about the Titans. I mean, look, the Titans pleasantly surprised me in this draft. I won't deny that. And I won't deny that Keldrick Falk is a first round talent, but I think we mentioned it on the pre show. Did you have to trade up for him, though? I mean, he was 35. I mean,
I
are you.
think I think he was falling to the second round too. That's the thing. I think you could have gotten him second round.
I think you needed to do that. I think you could have done it. I think you could have gotten Zion Young from Missouri, and I think that would have been just as good. I
A
think you
lot.
could have
Go for it.
anybody,
Yeah.
really. I think you could have gotten any kind of edge. You could have even gotten Terrell. You could have gotten the hometown guy. You could have gotten Jermon McCoy at 35. He's still on the board. I mean,
Yeah.
shoot. Hey, not a single Tennessee ball drafted, by the way. But I mean, I think
Yeah, that's another thing.
it
I
was
knew I figured McCoy would fall out, but Colton Hood falling out of the first round kind of did surprise me a bit. I
Yeah.
will say that shocked. I think if you talk about players that like shocked me, they weren't there. We talked about T.J. Parker maybe falling out, but I still saw a world where he would squeeze in the first round, and that didn't happen. Um, I think there was a world there was a world where if you look at who's the best available left is outside of McCoy, Emmanuel Warren. I know people talked about him being drafted first round, and it didn't happen.
Surprised me.
Same with I tell you what, I thought Denzel Boston was for sure a first round pick, and I'm kind of shocked he wasn't. I know I've had my like iffy traits about him, but I definitely was shocked that he wasn't taken first round. Maybe they're seeing what a lot of people are starting to see in that he's a great player, but he's not worth first round capital per se. But I will say this. San Francisco on the clock tomorrow. Do you think that TJ Parker is the first player to come off the board, or do you think they addressed the need for safety and take Emmanuel McNeil Warren? What do you see San Fran doing with this first pick in the second round tomorrow?
So if the last couple years are any indication, we see a lot of BPAs get drafted early in the second round. The beauty about San Francisco's pick is they have a whole day to sit on the pick, look at the draft board, and see what they want. I think that works to their advantage. I know that there are sexy options here. I think Denzel Boston's the sexy pick to replace Ayuk and maybe possibly find another weapon for Brock Purdy. I think you could very easily go safe and go offensive tackle. There's still a good amount of offensive tackles in this draft, and
Yeah,
then also fill a need. I think TJ Parker and guys like that on the defensive line make a lot of sense. But what I'm seeing at the end of the day is there's a clear and obvious best player available right now in this draft in Emmanuel McNeil Warren. And I think given what we've seen last year, and the name escapes me, but the Eagles corner who's done very well ever since he got drafted a few years ago has been their CB1, and I, for the life of me, cannot remember his name right now. I'm very tired, but
yeah,
it's like he's in Toledo, right? Emmanuel Neal Warren's in Toledo. I mean, I think the Niners are probably. I would like to see them get McNeil Warren. Is it the right move per se? I'm not sure. I think TJ Parker makes a lot of sense. I think you could also look at someone like a Caden McDonald, who we didn't talk about, who's still on the board, and I also had him going in the first round. That's a
yeah.
name to watch out for in early picks. But yeah, I mean, I think the Niners could go anywhere, and I think just kind of given the fact that they traded down as well, I think they already kind of got their mindset on who they want.
Yeah. Well, I will say this. It was an interesting draft. I feel like if you talk about grades wise, I mean it's a lot to go and grade every team right now.
What would you give the Bills? Because they traded 3 times down in the first round. They didn't even like fill in like they could have been a team to get McNeil Warren given the fact that, you know, their safety has been a problem in recent years. And I mean, they were linked. I mean, Boston was there. You had other options there that I could have seen them taking. Defensive end as well. I mean, do you like the fact that Buffalo traded down as much as they did?
Hold on one second. I Buffalo. I feel like really. It's hard to say. It's hard to say. I had noticed a bit when I was in the press room that they kept dropping, and I was kind of confused about it. But at the same time, it's something Buffalo does where they just drop in the draft. They never really trade up in the last few years, even when Sean McDermott was head coach. And I don't know what good old Joe has in mind, but it'll be interesting to see.
I think we'll see about their second round. I think there's still a lot of talent they could address on the board in day two for sure. But I mean, they stayed quiet. The rest of the AFC East made noise. I mean, Miami traded up. The
Yeah,
Jets got 3 picks, and the Patriots traded up. The Bills just kind of kept falling and falling and falling down. And what does that mean? Who knows? But I just found it interesting that the Bills, in the span of an hour, traded 3 times to 3 different teams.
yeah, I agree. I agree. It's going to be interesting to see. Well, I I mean, I think that's about covered as well. I mean, I think tomorrow's second and third round is going to be interesting. I think if I were to give the team the highest grade right now, I'll be honest. I liked what the Giants did today. I'll give them the A plus. Raiders stuck with the plan. I think that's an easy A. But if I were to really give someone an A plus, I will say I think Ruben Bain falling into Tampa Bay's lap was perfect for them,
Yes.
and so that was the sneaky good A plus grab, in my opinion. It looks like they are about to kick us out of here. So, any final thoughts, Joey?
My A plus, Tampa Bay. I agree with you. I think Ruben Bain was considered a top 10, and the fact that Bucks got him when they did is great. I will also give the Ravens an A plus because they got Vega Ioane, and I'm very very happy that they did that. Because that really addresses a need for them. They got inside guard pass protection for Lamar, and I'm very, very happy that they
Right.
did that. So I'll go A plus for Baltimore as well. Um, I like what New England did, but I can't go any higher than like an A minus or something like that. And I mean, shout out as well to the Eagles for getting, Makai Lemon. I think we all had our doubts about that going in, but I mean, they replaced AJ Brown. I think they get a home run. As far as the local team Tennessee goes, I think it's a very strong B plus for them. Getting Carnell Tate, I love that, but Keldrick Falk, I have my questions about. I'd like to see
Right.
him do well, but at the end of the day, I don't think Tennessee need to reach for him. Just my opinion.
Yeah.
A plus, Ravens and Bucks back to back.
Yeah.
I think they did fantastic.
I
Um,
agree. Ravens got a good pick. They did what they needed to do. I think Chicago got a sneaky good player too. They really hit on the mark. Um, outside of that, outside of that, that's about it. I think, like I said, the Vikings pick is probably the only one I'd give like a C minus D to. But then again, I know Caleb Banks is good, but was he worth getting when you got him in the first round? I think if there's anybody else I'd worry about a little bit is probably the
Saints.
Dolphins. The Dolphins, like we said, you said Saints, so you're worried about Saints. It
I
just I know originally wide receiver wasn't considered a high need, but it uh,
I don't like it. I'm sorry. I don't like it. You had a whole other side of the ball to address with all the needs available, and you got a receiver that was like, of all the needs you had, that was like the second worst need you could have chosen. So I don't know. I'd give this that like listen. Tyson was on a lot of people's high boards at the end of the day, and I give them credit for taking a chance on that. But that's like a C minus pick, in my opinion.
right. All right. Well, with that being said, thank you for the sports nerd edition. They are kicking us out, so I do need to get going, and I have a long drive back. So, with that being said, I'm TJ Wilson with the Sports Nerd Podcast. Thank you to VTRN 93.3 FM, 1320 AM Lynchburg for the approved credentials from the NFL. Thank you to the NFL for this opportunity of being here. It was a great draft. I got getting a whole new experience. Thank you, Joey, for joining me on both editions, and hopefully we can do another draft episode here soon. I don't know what tomorrow looks like, but we'll figure it out. In the meantime, we both have jobs tomorrow, so we're both going to go to bed at this point. So, Joey, thank you for joining, man.
Absolutely, it's a pleasure to be here.
Heard. Thank you so much, man. You have a good night.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Sweet. All right. I'm off, man. I'll